guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about all the books that I read in July. I read 14 books this month, which is so much for me. I think I usually read like half of that, but I don't know, I was just on a roll this month and I was just having so much fun. Like I read so many good books. I had 3 5-star reads. And I'm so excited to just talk to you guys about what I read. So, the first book that I read in July was Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. And I was super excited for this book and it did not disappoint. I gave it 4 stars. I loved it so much. I have loved all the Ali Hazelwood books that I've read. I know a lot of people say they're all very similar, but like, I don't mind it. I love the STEM. I think the science, especially in this book. I think this is my favorite book of hers. The 2 characters together, I just felt like they were very real and I felt like their connection was very deep. The main character is Elsie and she's like a physicist and she's not really like doing the job she wants or in like as high as a position as she would want, and to like make more money she's like fake dating guys. The older brother of one of the guys she's fake dating ends up being someone kind of important in this, like her getting this one job that she's trying to get. He is also a physicist in like a top position, and so she's gonna have to go through him, and she thinks that like he doesn't like her. It was just so good. Like they were so cute. And what I loved was that Elsie, she put on a front for a lot of people, and Jack, the guy, he like saw right through her and just wanted her to be herself. And it was just really cute, and I thought they were both really likable characters and I loved them together. Their banter was really good. I loved the physics part of it. It was just overall, it was like perfect. I really wouldn't have changed anything. I loved it. Would definitely recommend that one. Then I read What I Thought Was True by Huntley Fitzpatrick, which this is like, it's not a popular book. The only reason I read it was because I read it once when I was much younger. I had gotten it from the library back, before I used like Goodreads or anything, and I found it again and I was like, oh my god, I need to reread this for like the nostalgia, because I remember the setting, really liking it. It's set in like a beach town in Connecticut, and the main character is Gwen, and her family's kind of poor, and she ends up doing work for this like wealthy woman on like the more wealthy side of the island. And there's this guy Cassidy who's one of like the wealthy kids, and like they like had a thing in the past and like something bad happened but we don't know what, and she ends up having to like spend more time with him because he's also working in like the same area that she is. And it's just about them. It's really like the summer vibes. You can tell that it was written a while ago. Like they say some things that it's like, I'm like not sure you should have said that, but I thought it was a good like beachy summer read. It's nothing amazing, but I enjoyed it. Probably mostly because of the nostalgia of it, but if you're wanting a beach town summery book like this one, it is that. So maybe this would be a good one. Next I read Kismet by Becky Chalzen, and I gave this book 3.75 stars. I really liked this book. I definitely want to read more of this author because I thought that her writing was so good. I loved the plot and the setting and the characters. Like I really loved all of it, which makes it seem like I should be giving it a higher rating. But there was something that happened that like wasn't great and like it didn't need to happen. The premise of this is that Amy is going to their beach house that her family always goes to, and it's for her sister's wedding, her twin sister's wedding. Amy and her husband are kind of like on the rocks, so she's dealing with that but trying not to make a big deal out of it because she doesn't want to make, her sister's wedding weekend all about her. But then the best man shows up and it's someone from her past, and so that starts to cause some problems, and so it gets a little messy. If you want a messy, beachy, like drama summer read, you would like this. I personally loved it. I know a lot of people wouldn't because there is like, let's say, temptation with infidelity. If you don't like that, you probably won't like this, but I didn't even care. Like I just really enjoyed the story. It was so fun. The setting was so good. It was so summery, and it wasn't just about romance. It was like the family coming back together and like their sister relationship, and it was just a really cute book. I enjoyed it very much, and it takes place over like the 4th of July weekend, or like leading up to the 4th of July, and I read it right around the 4th of July, so it was really good timing and I really liked doing that. So I would definitely recommend that book if it sounds like something you might like. Then I read Belladonna by Adeline Grace, and I gave this 5 stars. I loved this book so much. I'm simply obsessed. I'm literally obsessed. I loved it. The main character, Senia, I'm pretty sure you pronounce her name Senia. It looks like Signa, but I'm pretty sure it's Senia. Sorry if I'm wrong. But she can see death, and like death has always been like a presence in her life, and everybody who like takes care of her ends up dying, so she has some issues. And she gets sent to like some distant family. I think it's like a distant uncle, and she's sent there for them to take care of her, and they're more wealthy, so she's like excited. But she gets there, and so she can see spirits, and the spirit, I guess her aunt, I think, tells her that she was poisoned because she died like just a little bit before Senia came, and they all just thought she was ill, but it turns out she was actually poisoned. And the same thing starts happening to her daughter Blythe, who is Senia's cousin. And so Senia starts to try to solve this mystery. Who is doing this? Why are they doing it? What secrets does this family have? And like the mansion they live in is like haunted, and so it's a gothic romance, and it has the perfect blend of like romance and mystery, and I just literally loved it so much. It reminded me of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, in that like the demon, the devil, I don't know, in Addie LaRue, who like she made the deal with, it's kind of like how death is, like they're just like this being that follows them around, but they also kind of develop a relationship with. So if you liked that book, I would recommend this one. I would highly, highly, highly recommend this book. Literally in my book journal, I wrote, "Shut up, this was so good," in all caps. Like that was the first thing I wrote. I loved it. And I'm very excited for the second book. I love how it ended. I was so happy with it. So yeah, that was a favorite of the month for sure. And then next I had another one of my favorites of the month, which was Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. This is a sci-fi book, which I don't read too much sci-fi, but I think I should, because every time I read sci-fi, I really enjoy it. So I guess I need to read more. But this book is about, so the main character, to be honest, I don't remember his name, but he gets kidnapped while walking home at night one day, and he wakes up and all these people are around him. They're like in hazmat suits, and they know him, and they're acting as if like they've known him for a long time, and he has no idea who these people are. So basically he stepped into this life that like is not his, and he's like trying to get back to his other life, figure out what happened, how did he get here. And I think he's like a physicist or something. He does something with physics, so there is like some complicated physics and science stuff, but I found it super interesting. I didn't understand, you know, maybe all of it, but I still really liked it. But the book, the overall theme is kind of about the path not taken. Like the what if on if you had made a different decision, what would your life look like now? It's all about that. And it made me really appreciate my life right now. You should appreciate what you have. You should appreciate the people that are in your life. And I feel like this book just really made me think and kind of changed something in my brain a little bit, which is something I absolutely love when books do. So this was a 5-star read. I don't know if I said that. I would highly recommend this. I couldn't put it down. Like I needed to know what was gonna happen. And there's also some romance in it. Like the man, like the love that he has for his wife is unmatched, I'm telling you. And I read Once More with Feeling by Alyssa Sussman, and I gave this 3 stars. It was just okay. It wasn't bad, but it also wasn't a favorite. Like I've definitely read better romances. Main character Kathleen, she's like an ex-pop star, and she had some big scandal that happened with actually the guy who is the love interest in this book. His name is Cal. And so it's in a past and present timeline, so you go in the past to like kind of go through the events leading up to the big scandal. And then in the present, they're working on a musical together. He's the director and she is like starring in it. So they're reconnecting. But Kathleen bugged me sometimes. She was not always the most straightforward, and she just like caused problems. And then I felt like in the present timeline, their relationship wasn't like progressing very much. And they were just like bickering, being like, "I hate you." And it was just like, it was getting old. And I was like, can you guys just talk and have a mature conversation, please? You're like literally 30 years old. But I did like the musical aspect of it. Like they're going on Broadway. I thought that part was really fun. I haven't read something like that. So I did like that a lot. And I enjoyed it. It just wasn't a favorite. But if it sounds good to you, I would recommend it. Then I read Once Upon a Broken Heart and The Ballad of Never After. I got the UK covers because they are so pretty. When I got them, I just like sat there and stared at them for like 10 minutes because they're just so beautiful. I just had to get them. But I rated the first book, I think I rated 4 stars on Goodreads, but it's 4.25 because it's better than a 4-star. And then I rated The Ballad of Never After 5 stars. So good. So excited for the next book. It's a very magical and fairy tale-esque kind of story. The main character, Evangeline, gets herself into a predicament with the Prince of Hearts, Jax, where she makes a deal with him for him to stop the wedding of like her childhood love, and he requests 3 kisses, but they're not to him. They're just kisses of his choosing, because his kiss is lethal, so if he kissed her, she would die. And she just gets into a lot more than she bargained for with Jax. And this book was painful. It was so painful, but it made me feel such emotion, which I loved. Like, I had to give it 5 stars, and I'm so excited for the next book. And I love Jax so much. I know he's toxic. I know he's bad. I don't care. I don't care at all, because I love him. And I love these books, and I'm so happy that I read them and that I have them. Next up, I read That Summer Feeling by Bridget Morrissey, and I gave this 3.75 stars. I'd never heard anything about this, but it was at my library. They had a beach read table, and this was on it, so I was like, that looks good. The cover looked very like summery. It's about, I honestly cannot remember the woman's name, I'm so sorry, but she goes to this it's like an adult summer camp, which is like a little weird. I feel that if the characters would have been younger, I would have liked it more, because I think they were around in their 30s, and I don't know, it was just like hard to picture 30-year-olds like doing this stuff. But I don't really know any 30-year-olds, so maybe they would enjoy this. I don't know, but I don't let that like tarnish the book, because it was a really good book. The main character, she gets to the summer camp, and I think she's divorced. She goes to the summer camp and she sees this guy that she like had like a really weird, like kind of almost like psychic moment with like a long time ago. And she's like, oh my God, like, am I here for you? Is this finally our time to meet? But she ends up falling for his sister. It was really good. I've never really read a rom-com between 2 girls. So there, if you're looking for that, this would be a perfect one. It was so summery and fun. And like the camp vibe was really fun, even if it was like a little odd because it was adults. I still really enjoyed it. But I gave it 3.75 because it did feel a little insta love. Like, I just don't know if this really could have happened or if it was developed quite enough. But it was a perfect summer read, and I would definitely recommend it. And then next, I finally read Fourth Wing, thank God, and I rated it 4 stars. I really liked it. I don't think I liked it as much as other people do. Like, it's not my favorite fantasy I've ever read, but I did really enjoy it, and I thought it was really good. I loved the dragons. If you don't know what Fourth Wing is about, which you probably do, but I'll give you a very brief description. Violet, the main character, is going to this war college to train to become a dragon rider, and it's very dangerous. Like, it's giving Dauntless vibes from Divergent. Like, you could die. And this book really reminded me of like Divergent and the Hunger Games and like that era of like dystopian, even though this is more fantasy, but it just really reminded me of that. And so I really liked it for that reason, because it kind of felt nostalgic in a way. I don't really know, but I did really like it. I loved the dragons. I loved how they were like characters in themselves, and the way they like built a relationship with their rider was really cute. Really liked the romance. I don't know if it was like the best developed relationship I've ever read, but I didn't really care. I still thought it was cute and it was good. I feel like they had good like banter and tension, which I always appreciate. And then my big complaint with this book was that there were a few times where I did not know what was happening. Like, I was reading and I was like, what the hell are you trying to describe to me right now? Like, I could not picture what was happening, and I hate when that happens. It's so frustrating. And it happened multiple times, but I wouldn't say it's like a badly written book. I think some parts were just a little too complex. Like, it just could have been simplified, or I needed like 2 sentences just explaining the setting better, or explaining like the challenge she was doing, because sometimes it was very confusing and I did not like that. But overall, it was very good. I'm gonna read the second book and I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. So I understand the hype. Looking for a good fantasy, I would recommend it. And I read Shatter Me by Taheda Mafi. I looked up how to say her name, so hopefully I'm saying it right. I gave this 2.5 stars. I just really did not think it was very good, to be honest. I don't think the writing was very good. Juliet, the main character, was annoying. The whole series is about this girl, Juliet, whose touch is lethal. And so she's like been locked up for a while. That's basically all you need to know. You're in this like dystopian world where Earth is kind of failing, like the atmosphere is destroyed, animals are like poisoned, plants aren't doing well, like Earth is not well. Like I said, I didn't love the writing. I didn't feel like any of the characters were developed super well, or the relationships, which is only the first book, so I can understand that it might take some time, which is why I continued the series. But I also thought that like Juliet, she would just act so rashly. Like I just wanted to like shake her and be like, can you just think for 5 seconds before you go scream at this person and accuse them of something? I don't know, she just bugged me sometimes. And yeah, I was like, oh, I like the concept, but I just think it could have been done a little bit better. But we'll talk about my opinion on the second book in a minute. In between the first 2 books, I read The Last Word by Taylor Adams, which is a mystery thriller about this woman who is house sitting in this house on Strand Beach in Washington. It's kind of like isolated, and she reads this book, and it's like a murder, I don't know what you call it. I feel like it's like a serial killer, like murdered book. I don't really know. But she was like, oh my god, this book is terrible. And she gives it a 1-star review and writes a pretty harsh review on Amazon. She gets in like a little fight with the author because he wants her to take it down. And then stuff starts happening that's like similar to what was happening in the book. And she's like, oh my god, the author has found me and is trying to kill me because I gave him this terrible review. And it was just, it had me on the literal edge of my seat. I read it in 1 day. I couldn't stop. I was like, I can't go to bed until I know what happens. And just so you know, there's a dog in this book, and the dog is fine, and nothing happens to the dog. The dog ends up being just fine at the end. Destiny Sidwell, I watched one of her videos, and she read this book, and she said that in her video, and I appreciated that, because I would have been so anxious the whole time that something was going to happen to the dog. But no, the dog is fine, just so you know. So if that would like turn you off from reading it, don't let it, because the dog's fine. But I gave it 4 stars because it just did exactly what you want a thriller to do. Like, I just couldn't stop reading, and it had me flipping the page. Well, I was on my Kindle, so it had me tapping the pages, trying to figure out what was going to happen. And then I read Unravel Me, which is the second book in the Shatter Me series. And I did like this one better. I gave it 3 stars. I still don't think it was like that good. The way that the characters feel about each other just like doesn't make sense to me. Like, there's no way they could have these deep and strong of feelings for like the interactions and the time they've had together. That's like my main issue with it, but I'm trying to just take it for what it is, as like a teen, because it is like a teen series, so maybe it was written for a younger audience and that's why like I'm not connecting with it as much. It is entertaining and they're very easy to read, so I'm gonna read the 3rd book because I feel like I've heard the best stuff about the 3rd, and if I still don't like the 3rd, I'll probably stop. There's just too much of Juliet's inner monologue. Like, we get it. You think that like you're a terrible person because you can kill people. Like, we understand. I just like, I can't deal with her sometimes. Yeah. So I read that. Lastly, the book that I finished this morning, which is Begin Again by Emma Lord. I've been wanting to read this book ever since I first saw it because I thought the cover was very cute, and Begin Again is a Taylor Swift song, so I was like, I need to read that. And I really, really liked this. I gave it 4 stars. It was very like charming and cute. It's about Andy, who transfers to this school harder to get into, and she transfers there because her mother, who passed away, so there is like parent death in this book, just so you're aware of that, if that's like sensitive. But she transfers to be with her boyfriend because he goes there, but what she doesn't know is that he actually transferred to her school, but neither of them like told each other, so she just ends up at this school and he's not there. And it's mostly about like, it is a romance. She has an RA named Milo she ends up spending time with because they have a lot in common. There isn't cheating though, just so you know. So if you're worried about that, there is no cheating. It's about like her finding her place at this university and like there's this whole big plot line with this ribbon hunt where you have to like get ribbons so that you can get into a secret society. It's like a thing they do, and her mom did it. She really wanted to do it because her mom did it, and there's like this radio show thing. Like, there's a lot going on. But basically, like, she finds her place at this school. She finds her people, like the found family and like her friend group, like her and Milo, and then her roommate Shay, and then their other friend Valeria, who's like her statistics tutor. They were such a good friend group, and I loved it. I literally loved it. She also like reconnects with her dad, so it's just very like heartwarming. And I read this because I was trying to have a better attitude about going back to school, and this is set like in a college, so like maybe I'll read this and it'll get me back in like the studious college mindset, because right now I don't really want to go back to school. But I read this to try to have a better attitude, and I do think it worked because they made college seem fun, so maybe I'll have more fun this year. I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't say that the romance is like a heavy. It's not the driving force of the book. I feel like more the driving force is like the found family and her finding her place in this new community. And she also has 2 grandmas that like raised her, and like they're really cute and fun. So yeah, 4 stars. I really enjoyed it and I would recommend it. But that brings us to the end. Those are all the books that I read in July. I had such a fun reading month. Let me know what your favorite book that you read in July was. I'd love to know. And you can follow me on Goodreads if you want. We can be friends. You can see what I'm reading throughout the month. I can see what you're reading. Thank you for watching, and hopefully I will see you in my next video.